Welcome back to the Elias Macco Show. Now, last week on this program, we were speaking to Glenn Castanera from Montreal, Centreville, and we were talking about some of the issues that downtown Montreal is facing with homelessness, with open drug use on city streets. So we had this discussion, and I think Glenn was really coming from his heart's in the right place. I think my heart's in the right place. We want what's best for the city. And we were discussing the issues at hand, and while we were discussing homelessness and some of the resources or lack of resources available to homeless people, we had one of our listeners reached out. Her name's Jacky Davis. She used to be homeless in this city, and it took years for her to get out of homelessness. And she sent us a text message saying, hey, you know what, some of the stuff here, she wanted to chime in and talk about some of the things that homeless people face in this city. And when we got those text messages, we said, let's try and have her on the program. Jacky Davis is on the line. Jacky, welcome to the program.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. First things first, thank you for sending us a text message during the show. You know, we can't always get to all the text messages we get, but I saw your messages. I took immediate interest in them. So thank you for reaching out, first of all. Well, why'd you reach out? Why'd you, a lot of people text the show, but this was a really serious point. Why'd you send us that text?
Well, because the guy you had on, he started saying how there should be like zero tolerance into with homeless, like letting them be like stores opening their doors or something like that. I can't exactly remember. And it really hit a chord with me because the stores don't open their doors to the homeless. There are cops always up and down the streets. Oh, like if somebody's panhandling or trying to make money for the day, giving out tickets. Like I have a friend, he's got like 8 tickets in 1 month for panhandling, trying to make money, for his day. And there's constantly people trying to kick them off the streets, and he was saying how, that the city was tolerant, but they're not at all. And that kind of just like made me upset because it feels like he was saying like we help them too much when there's actually no help at all.
So, yeah, Jacky, you were homeless for nearly 3 years, if I have that correct.
Yep, on and off for 3-4 years.
How'd you get there, Jacky? How do you end up homeless?
A lot of bad luck. Honestly, it's a lot of bad luck. It started with an abusive relationship, and then COVID, and then no job, and then money running out, and being a woman, and then not having bad credits. I couldn't find an apartment. It didn't matter how much I tried. I even tried saving money. Like I was like, I'll give you 2 months rent.
Wow.
But with the bad credits, like they wouldn't rent out to me. And with COVID, there was nowhere for me to go. There was no shelters. My friends, I don't really have any friends. So I had nowhere to go. So it was just a really dark place to be.
You mentioned bad luck there. And I guess if bad luck is, and all these things have to happen at the same time, to get out of homelessness in this city, do you need good luck?
Something like that. I think like you need to be able to first find the good resources. You need to be able to hold face to all of these, because people treat you differently when you're homeless. They say a lot of bad things to your face. It's hard to find social workers. I'm actually getting teary up. I'm sorry.
It's okay, Jacky.
So, people get really mean with homeless people, and it's really hard to... Oh my God, I'm sorry.
Jacky, it's okay. And again, like the fact that you texted us and then when we called you, you said, yeah, I'll come on the show. Not many people would do that. I have to impress upon all of our listeners here the kind of courage you have just to come on air, because a lot of people wouldn't talk openly about a situation like yours, right? So please, if tears come, it's fine. I understand.
Yeah.
So what should we know? Because I think I think most people really in their heart they don't want people to be homeless. They want solutions, right? So
the city, like seriously, they closed down 3 shelters this winter. So saying like, I feel like there are certain people, in the working class that, they do help, to give $1 or they'll stop and talk and stuff like that. But like the people who have actual money to like make a difference aren't they? They say a lot of words, but they don't actually help. Like the fact that all of these shelters are closing down, and that food banks and food kitchens, like there's I think 2 or 3 food kitchens that also closed down, and there's no money. Like I have social workers where they like the people that work there got cut, the amount of people working as social workers got cut down because they couldn't afford it anymore. So, like there isn't a lot of help there. And I feel like the government is always saying, oh, we do help them, but they not really. Like just welfare alone, all they give you is $850 a month for the entire month. And this is supposed to cover rent, your phone, clean clothes. The Metro pass is what, $100 just to take the Metro and the bus. It's not real help.
Jacky, what type of help do you think would have a significant impact on getting people off of the streets? Because, I've looked at, I hear people talk about the dollar signs, and they come on the show and politicians say, well, we're spending this, we're spending that. And the dollar signs are there, but maybe they're not in the right place.
Not really.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like there should be, like a rehabilitation centers. Mm-hmm. Or like not just like for addicts, but like also for homeless people, because a lot of the homeless people that we have now are so far gone that they don't act like they don't act pleasant anymore. Mm-hmm. But it's because they've been treated so badly for so long. So I feel like the city does have a lot of work to do in this area. But I think like if we had rehabilitation centers where they could take groups of homeless people and keep them in and get them like the mental health that they need and the medication that they need, just to feel normal again, I think would be a good place to start. Kind of like old age care facilities, like they have like groups of people living in a home and they have like nurses and stuff taking care of them, like something similar like that, but to help for the homeless people. I think that would be like something that would actually genuinely be helpful, because it's easy to give somebody like go to this doctor and get help, but then they have to go back and sleep outside on the street,
Yeah. Jacky, it's you got off the streets. It sounds though that you are you're still on top of this subject, that people that are still facing this type of life. What do you think are maybe some of the biggest misconceptions that people have about homelessness?
Well, that all of the the garbage and all the damage that the city has, that it's all just the homeless that is doing all of this. The thing is, I heard a lot of complaining, they just pee on the streets and stuff like that, and it's just the homeless. But it's the nightlife too is a big part of that, because when I've been alone on the streets, I stay awake because I don't sleep at night because it's too dangerous. So I've stayed up, and you watch these people leave the bars, and they just go wherever they want, guys and girls, and then they drink too much, so they end up being sick right on St. Catharines and stuff like that. And then the next day they're just like, oh, this is obviously the homeless, they're the ones who are doing this. So it's like, no, it's not. You can't blame everything that's wrong with the city on the homeless just because it's easier to do that. And also, like, the city created these people, you know what I mean? The landlords are unfair. They're like, no pets, no dogs are allowed. And then, if the rents are insanely high, so then, you lose your apartments, and it's just, and then, so they become homeless and they lose their jobs and all this stuff. And that's, the city's not helping them. And then we're like, we slap the word homeless on them, and now we don't have to take care of them anymore.
Jacky, in your life right now, do you fear like ending back up on the streets, or is there a stability now in your life that you've gotten after those years of trying so hard?
Yeah, I do now. I mean, it took a long time. Like when I was homeless for like 3 or 4 years, and I would manage to find a room or something like that, but then it would end up being, I have the worst luck with roommates. So I had one roommate kick me out while I was in the hospital and steal all my stuff, and another one turned out to be, doing things that I'd rather not talk about. It was just, I always just had really bad luck. But then I applied for low-income housing, and that was a lot of hoops that I had to jump through. I had to find all my IDs, which a lot of homeless people don't have. So that was months of waiting. And then I had to fill out all these applications. I had to get my taxes done. I had to get social workers to, say like, yes, this person, she's, a good advocate, like a good person for this. And for low-income housing, and the waiting list, I think, was 2 years before I actually got my unit. Wow! And now that I have it, as long as I'm, I stay nice and I'm a pleasant person, I won't get kicked out.
Jacky, sorry, finish your thought, Jacky.
Yeah. So now I do have stability. Chez Doris helped me with that. And OLHM, they have units for like low income housing, but it's still like you still have to go through a lot to be able to get to a place like this.
Jacky, I want to thank you for coming on, and I really mean it. You know, it's not every day that we get a message like yours in response to a segment that we do, and for you to come on here, we truly appreciate it, and I think you're giving us another perspective this morning. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you so much.
That is Jacky Davis right there.